what's up, guys? This is Elias. Welcome to my channel. So just before we get started, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the video. So I have a really cool personal friend, special guest today, gonna join us and ask him. I'm gonna get some opinions on him, get some thoughts on what he thinks about in all things in life, but especially when it pertains to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So my special friend and guest is JB. Me and JB have been friends for a year, and he's been a huge inspiration for me to be able to start doing these videos and just really get involved with something to be able to tell you guys or give you guys my opinions, tell you guys about things that I think Jiu-Jitsu can benefit you with. So it's going to be super exciting for me. I'm really excited to have him here. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's get started. Anything you want to say, JB?
It's a pleasure and honor to be here today. I know we're going to do a session after this, get a good sweat going, a good workout, but it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy for your new channel.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. I hope you guys like it, man. I know you guys are going to love what he has to say. JB always has the right comebacks. So, I just so you guys know, so I didn't want to miss any opportunities to be able to ask JB all the things I wanted to ask him. So, I actually this time wrote down some notes so that way I can make sure I can reference back all the thoughts that I had to be able to get some questions in with him. So we're going to get right into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I wrote down here on my notes, is, JB, when he first started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with me, I can still remember we were doing private lessons. He was first started in the group class and then started to do private lessons. And I can still remember in the beginning when he first started, especially the private lessons, I've done hundreds, maybe thousands of private lessons. And I remember a lot of times in the past when people did privates, all they want to do is learn like the fancy stuff. Like everybody wanted to learn like the triangles, the omoplatas, all the fancy guard passes, guard sweeps, which is cool. If it's your money, you pay for it, you can do whatever you want with your own money. But it was very interesting because I remember when JB came in and started doing privates, one of his main focus, and still to this day, it's almost a year later that we've been doing private lessons, he still, when he comes in, wanted to focus back then and today on just learning self-defense. In the beginning, like literally, he'd come in and he'd have my 215 pounds on his chest for an hour and just practice escaping that situation. And I just remembered I used to be so impressed because to me that was just something unusual. It wasn't the norm. For any black belt out there, you guys know what I'm talking about. A lot of times when you have people come and do privates, that's the last thing they want to do is practice bad positions. They want to do all the fancy good stuff. So it was really cool for me to know that he wanted to learn I feel like the spirit of jiu-jitsu, learn self-defense. So the first thing I wanted to kind of talk with him a little bit about was what made him think to himself, I want to first focus, before all the fancy stuff, of getting out of bad positions. What to you does jiu-jitsu mean as far as getting out of bad positions, whether it be jiu-jitsu related or life related, because I'd be curious to hear what his answer is, because again, very unusual and unorthodox. I know jiu-jitsu is always talked about as being unorthodox, but very unorthodox that he was interested in going that route. So I'm curious to know. I have a little idea of what he said to me in the past, but I want him to tell you guys about what he thought about. So go ahead.
When I started jiu-jitsu back in the early 2000s, that was the cool stuff. And I trained in more of an MMA style back in Orange County when I lived there. When I came out here, trained at Palm Springs Jiu-Jitsu, doing all the cool stuff. But as you progress over time, you begin to realize through life, through training, that you're going to be in very, very bad positions in life. Could be financially or it could be physically. And I thought that, when you look at the aspect of jiu-jitsu or you look at an altercation in real life, think about maybe, I'm 230 pounds. Think about maybe a 300-pound human being getting on top of you, raining down blows. It's a very, very bad place to be. You don't have a whole lot of time to be there. You need to get out or you're going to be in very, very big trouble. And you could relate that to your personal life financially, that you could get yourself in a really bad financial position. You cannot stay there for very long, or it's going to take a very, very serious toll on you. So in life or financially or in jiu-jitsu, you got to train. And this is what I learned over time. It's not just, ground and pound, getting on top of people, learning all the fancy moves. you've got to have a really good defense, because we're all going to be in a bad place, a bad position, whether it's in an altercation, because we know that 95% of all fights land up on the ground, but financially, everybody at some point is going to be in a bad position, and you've got to figure out real quick how to get out of that. So my personal life, that's how I look at life, knowing how to get out of bad places, bad positions. Because if you think you're going to sail through life on this mat or in real life, financially or physically, without an altercation, without confrontation, without being in a bad place, bad position, you are living through a false sense of security. So my advice to everybody is, if you're doing jiu-jitsu, put yourself in bad places, put yourself in bad positions, because if you can get out of there, then you can use all the fancy offensive moves. But remember, even offensively, a lot of people, I noticed through jiu-jitsu, are reluctant to take a certain move, a certain offensive move, because they're thinking like, well, what if I don't get it? What if the guy counters it and puts me in a bad position? The better you are defensively, the better you will be offensively. You're willing to take those chances, because if it doesn't work and you're put in a bad position, you know you can get out of it, and then you'll be able to go and try another offensive move. So that's how I look at it through jiu-jitsu. Personally, through finances, we're all going to be in bad places, and we've got to know how to adjust, evolve, and get out of those bad places financially also.
That's a good point. I was just thinking while he's talking, I'm like, there's such a strong correlation in financially, in all things in life, but just, in jiu-jitsu, you want to, I remember there was something that somebody told me at a job when I was very young, managing, when I was very young, told me that once you fall behind, it's very difficult to catch up. So try never to fall behind.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're talking about a little bit. Like when it comes to self-defense situations, if you're in a self-defense situation, you have to get out of it as quickly as possible, because the longer you stay in that bad position, the more damage that can be done.
And that's the point. And if you're financially, if you stay in a bad position too long,
that's exactly
you're going to get deeper and deeper into debt.
Yep.
And we could even say health-wise, if you have a bad eating disorder, and tomorrow I'm going to fix it, and tomorrow comes and it doesn't get fixed, and now it starts at 10 or 20 pounds overweight, then it's 50, 70 pounds overweight, now it's 100 plus pounds overweight. You're digging a deeper hole. So you need to escape out of this as fast as you can. You don't want to stay in these places too long, because you're going to
And I think the correlation, I think, too, is like what you're saying, like kind of like in jiu-jitsu, like people want to do all the fancy moves, people want to do all the like in finances, you have all these dreams of things that you want to do financially. Yeah. Like there's all these, man, I want to buy a big home, I want to buy a new car, I want to live this type of lifestyle. And really, the fundamental ways to do things. Like for example,
they want to do it today.
They want to do it today.
The credit cards come out.
Yes.
What you should be doing is mortgages came out. People are more financing cars for 7+ years.
Focus on the fundamentals. Yep. Focus on just in the fight. Again, correlating it, focus on just paying, just going step by step. Pay whatever you can pay today and just keep going that way. It's very similar to like how you approached, it's funny he's saying this because very similar how you approached the private lessons was that you just wanted to practice the fundamental self-defense things, so that way later on the more fancy things, which we've started to dabble a little bit now almost a year later into, because it's almost, I can see the same thing in finances, like focus on the fundamentals, paying off your debt, getting the things that you want to get paid off. And then when you have no debt and when you have more freedom, you can invest in gold coins, silver coins, and you can start to do the fancier things.
Right. You can take those chances.
Yes.
But and you'll see the results, because, I do the group classes too, and just, making sure you have a good foundation and a good defense, and going through the group classes, you can see how the hard work pays off, and you can see what a good defense does, and you're going to breathe a lot better at night, being a little bit more defensive, especially right now the way this economy is. You've got to be defensive right now. This is a very, very bad time to be taking chances. So
yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I going into that part of it, that's a pretty cool correlation, man. I sometimes when I hear JB talk, and we talk about jiu-jitsu all the time, but JB's, I feel like a mentor for me in financial things. So I just think to myself, it's pretty cool to hear the correlation, man. So it makes sense.
Jiu-jitsu is really is human chess. And so you can apply jiu-jitsu in many, many ways through your life. So that's how I look at it. And, to me, when you walk through those doors, it's just another day where you're dedicating yourself, challenging yourself, and nothing comes easy. There's no pill, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to get you in better shape, that's going to make you lose weight, that's going to make you smarter. There's no pill that's going to protect you. You got to come in here, you got to sweat, you got to dedicate the time, a little bit of pain, but it's going to make you a much tougher, stronger person.
And speaking of that, I mean, that's a perfect transition into obesity, health. I mean, I just saw an article. I don't know if it's true or not, but I just saw an article that mentioned, I don't have the reference to the article, but mentioned that we just now are only the second most obese country in the world. Mexico beat us out. So Mexico is now the most obese country. I don't know if that's something to brag about in the United States. I don't know if we want to brag about that we're the second most obese country in the world. So obesity, health, I mean, talking about no pill, nothing. There's not an easy way to become healthy in jiu-jitsu or in life. Like, what do you think? I mean, as far as I know there's a ton of obesity about taking care of someone's health, and what should people do to make sure that they're not falling? Maybe we can fall further down the list. I mean, I know we want to be number one in a lot of things, but we probably want to be as far as number one as we can be in being the most obese country in the world. So.
Well, first off, we have to admit we have a major health crisis in America. We have a society that is addicted to food. Look, we're guilty. We like to eat. Right? And I've admitted it many times. I do eat fast food now and then, but I have really tried to clean it up. But we have a health crisis here in America, an eating epidemic. We have a pharmaceutical crisis here in America. We have a drug crisis here in America. We have a lot of crises here in America. We have a health crisis here in America. And so one of the best things I think you can do for health, for mental health, physical health, is exercise. And one of the best forms of exercise and self-confidence is jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely. It's something that's going to help you just, if nothing else, be more confident and make sure that you can, and it's difficult to diet. It's difficult to do those things. But when you train jiu-jitsu and you learn how to start to discipline yourself, to even come to a group class once, 2, 3, 4 times a week, then it starts to become easier to discipline yourself to eat a little better, to watch what you eat the day before you come and train, and your discipline grows, your confidence grows, everything else.
And we said earlier, when you're doing this more competitively, you want to get as much out of your body as possible, and you want as much optimization. And that comes down to what you're putting in your body at that point. It's like putting high octane in a race engine. So you start thinking maybe I could be a little bit better, a little bit stronger, a little bit more conditioning if I start eating a little bit better. And so you start thinking about your diet a little bit more because you want to optimize your performance here on the mat. So I think that's really crucial.
Yeah, and going back to the obesity in the country, I mean, I don't know, I've visited, I've been to Taiwan, I've been to Hong Kong, I've been to Japan, I've been to the Philippines, and all of these countries that we've been to, I go inside there and I order, and they have all the same fast food we have here in America. And you go in there and you order, just like when you're on the road, you get in there, you just, something recognizable, something fast, you get in there, you order it. I mean, their large drinks, like at a McDonald's in Japan, their large drinks are the equivalent of our, kids' drinks. Their meals are, like in the Philippines, the meals are maybe, I would literally say, a quarter of the size that we have here.
Yeah.
So it makes a difference.
Well, and many of the countries too don't have the amount of chemicals in their food that we do also. Or now even water, that we're finding out that half of the U.S.'s water, tap water, is contaminated with cancer-causing chemicals.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's such an important thing to get involved with something, even if it's not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, get involved with something to help discipline yourself to start to become better. Again, we can all do better, but I mean, you have to start somewhere. You have to want to do it, and getting involved with a place that focuses on discipline in the self-defense aspect or even in the sports aspect will, I think, help you in obesity aspect, because you're gonna help.
And look, this isn't for everybody. I get it, but that's no excuse that you can't be doing something else. I mean, going for a run, a walk, a swim, some kind of activity. Jiu-jitsu is for people, I think, not to just want to get in shape, but people who are aware of what's happening in society today, who are worried about their kids, who understand that self-defense is a very, very important asset. I put it next to God at this point. God here, self-defense right here. So very, very important.
Think about like the crime in America, the crazy crime, and then there's even like, I know it's super controversial, but there's even a movie out called Sound of Freedom, and it talks about kids having
a commodity,
being a commodity in the world, and it just goes to show like why parents should have their kids involved with self-defense. Not just parents, but adults. What do you think about the crime in America and about our children, about how dangerous it is for them in the world? Or, we're in the U.S., so here, even in California, but in the U.S., without learning something that can help protect them?